Guys, it is almost time for UFC 321. Tom Aspinall, now the UFC Undisputed King, puts the title on the line against elusive striker Ciryl Gane in the main event. It's raw strength versus refined technique, and my friends at DraftKings are going to get you in on all the action. New customers turn $5 into $300 if your bet wins, paid instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code SONNEN, stay in on the action. Use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Love the thrill of live betting? Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers, use my promo code SONNEN. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly if your bet wins. That's promo code SONNEN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. I'm getting a little piece together for what is your favorite fighter's favorite food, at any rate. So I asked Bo Nickal, by the way, and I specified it. I said, hey, what is your favorite post-weigh-in meal? He wrote me back. It's a secret, I can't tell you. No, that's what he said to me. I'm not saying that to you. That's actually what he said to me. All right, so then I get inside. Now I'm on the topic of Bo Nickal. I see a Bo Nickal interview. And Bo had done this with Ariel. And if you guys missed it, Bo had leveled with Ariel. And he said, I was arrogant. I was arrogant. And he was actually talking about card placement. I should always be on the main card. I should not be a prelim. I should never be a prelim. The multiple-time NCAA champion. I'm Sanderson's guy. I was the Olympic alternate. And I ain't never lost in this little sport of yours. And not going to. I'm not on a prelim. Okay, well, you know, I kind of agreed with Bo. Bo's a huge attraction. Like the way they played Bo, and just to remind you guys, they put him on the Contender Series. He won. Then they put him on the Contender Series again. He won again. But they've never done that before. They never made a guy, okay, you know, you're good enough and you should get cut out and you had a finish and you've never lost. You've done everything that we have portrayed you need to do, but we're going to have you do this again. Then it ends up being the highest rated Contender Series of all time. Now he is pay-per-view ready. Paddy the Baddy had to do 4 fights before they could put him on a pay-per-view. Just to remind you guys. And Paddy the Baddy in those 4 fights had sold out 2 arenas, one of them the O2. As a matter of fact, I think it was the O2 twice. I just, without confirming that, one of them the O2. Did this as the 3rd fight from the top of the bill, but you could tell by the reaction of the crowds at the weigh-in, the press conference, and on Fight Night. Paddy sold that arena out. They still could have put him on pay-per-view. They brought Bo right into pay-per-view. Okay. Within this same interview, humble, no longer arrogant Bo clarified something. He clarified that all the talk that he has ever given about Chimaev, where he said, I will whip Chimaev. Chimaev is easy. We'll fight Chimaev anytime. That the fight that he was talking about was specifically a wrestling match. Now, in fairness to Bo, that is accurate. Every time Bo did talk about Chimaev and talked about I could beat him 10-0 and it would be easy and he would never take me down, he was talking about a freestyle wrestling match. But it was 2 statements in one interview. One where he openly called himself arrogant and another one where he thought he needed to clarify. Bo, on paper, is the biggest threat to Chimaev, period. Period. Now, does he deserve or qualify for that fight? No, that's another conversation. But he's the biggest problem, and I don't want him to lose that. I don't want him to lose that mindset. See, this is what happens to some of these greats. Some of these greats, they get one thing that throws them off. I mean, Dan Gable to this day will talk about the pains that he's had and the problems that he's had in life because of those pains from a match that happened in 1969. He went on to win the world to win the Olympic, to make NCAA records, and he still talks about the pains that he has from an open wound that was losing a match to Larry Owens in 1969. I mean, some of these greats. And that's not what I'm seeing with Bo. I just didn't need this from Bo. We were not owed any explanation. He's undefeated. He did the Contender Series twice. No one's got outside the first round. Nobody has mounted a piece of offense against him. They have not kicked him. They have not punched him. They have not taken him down. They have not swung into an armbar. Yes, he belongs on the pay-per-view. Hell yes, he does. He doesn't need to apologize for any of that. He doesn't need to apologize for anything he said about Chimaev. And the RDR match with Bo was a surprise, and how it happened was a surprise. There was about 3 things in that fight that we were very confident we would never see happen to Bo, and they all happened right there. Right, another guy getting on top, another guy doing better in the grappling. Grappling's hard to define. Wrestling's easy, grappling's a little harder, but we know it when we see it. Another guy remember that big knee from DeRenner? That's what started that whole thing. All those dominoes started to fall, but they started to fall at that knee to the body. So it was just one of these things where, was it a humbling? Okay, if Bo says it was, then it was. But was it more of a learning? Yeah. And then what do we see from RDR a week ago? Right? We see that these things don't play out the way that we think. We see that there's a reason the boys got to fight. There's a reason after the press conferences, you got to get the fight to the ring. There's a reason, regardless of what DraftKings or any other sports book says, you got to do the match to actually know. And I don't know that should be humbling for Bo. Like, I think Bo probably looks at RDR and goes, yeah, for whatever reason, but he's ahead of me. But I don't think that Bo would look at Brendan Allen like that, by the way. I think Bo would have an extremely high level of confidence that he could beat Brendan Allen. See, this is why you got to do the match. This is why brackets are so fun. This is why the rankings are so important. I'm just sharing that I don't want Bo to have lost that edge. I don't want him to have. He should not be rattled. And even if he was and goes, whoa, this RDR, boy, there's a gap between the rest of us, and I got to get through him just to get to my goal, which is actually Khamzat Chimaev. If he started to look at that and get a little bit frustrated, but then he sees what he saw over the weekend, I do think if Bo was talking to us, he would say what I just said, which is, yeah, I hold RDR in a really high esteem, and I have to really prepare. Right? He'd kind of hedge on that match. He'd be respectful, and I think that he would openly tell you, I'll go whip Brendan Allen tonight. So it just this is where the matches matter. I don't see grounds for where Bo would need to be humble and or accept anything else or any expectations less in his career because of a few moments that we got to chalk up to learning as opposed to celebrating. Those are just my thoughts. I like Bo. Humble Bo? Bring back the old Bo. Bring back the one with the little arrogance.